Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Level 1 Agent Attraction. We do this every Monday at 10 a.m. Central, 8 a.m. Pacific on the Freedom Team link. We're excited that you're here. If you're here for the first time, we want to welcome you, give you a little extra special welcome. Let me give everybody some, I don't believe in laws. I believe in rules and guidelines. How's that? So I'll give you a guideline. Guideline is, if you want this to be the hour you expect it to be. In other words, you want to change the way you think about agent attraction. You want to start moving into agent attraction. You actually want to start succeeding in agent attraction, or you just want to generally learn about agent attraction. Let me give you the biggest hint. The biggest hint you could do is spend the hour fully engaged with us. And the best way to do that is to turn your flipping camera on. Now, yes, Siri, turn your flipping camera. See, she always calls me out. So let me say this. Putting your camera on, if you're able, does a couple of things. I'm not calling you out if you don't put your camera on. That's okay. But let me set the guideline. Uncle Jay says, you want to be strong? You put your camera on. Here's why. Number one is you won't, you'll gain more. You'll gain more because you know people may be looking at you, so you'll be looking at us. Believe it or not, that keeps you attentive. Those of us that are trying to do two things at once during this class, I'm gonna add something into my sky slope while I'm listening. It doesn't work very well. I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm just saying this is a class that I pour into you, helping you understand how simple agent attraction is. By the end of this call in 56 minutes, you're going to understand clearly how simple it is to add $36,000 to your income this year and $132,000 to your income next year and every year afterwards. I'm going to repeat that so everybody hears that. I want you to know at the end of this call in 57 minutes, you're going to clearly understand how simple it is to attract enough agents over the next year to earn $36,000 a year in agent attraction. And next year, set yourself up for $132,000 a year. I want you to think about that for just a moment. The title of today's class is How to Offset Your $16,000 Cap. And I'm going to show you, not only I'm going to show you graphically, visibly how to do that, but I'm also going to give you the basic elements necessary for you to understand what you have to accomplish. Because beginning without the end in mind leads to running around the forest without a way out. I want you to understand that my guiding you in agent attraction is to guide you for a short-term period so you don't have to think about agent attraction any longer. I'm going to cover all of these things today in this very, very short message. Now, with that said, let me do this. We're going to have an interactive format, meaning if you want to ask questions, you can put them in the chat box. You can either raise your hand or you can just ask questions, unmute yourself and ask. But over the next hour, I'm going to hijack the microphone and take you down some paths. I'm also going to give you some direction if you're new to us on where you can catch up quickly. And lastly, the most important part for me is I want to give you a sense of understanding where you can gain a confidence that not only you gathered great information today, but you should probably come back. I want to remind you that we do this every Monday. We do a level 2 agent attraction on Thursday. And the difference is level 1 are people thinking about agent attraction, maybe making a call or two, maybe asking prospects to potentially look. And level 2 training are people that are doing it virtually daily. On almost a daily basis, you're either reaching out to agents or having them reach into you, asking about agent attraction. Let me pause for a moment, go around. Mr. Hollenden, I know you're there. How are you, buddy?
I'm good, Eric. How are you today, sir?
I'm feeling good. It's a good Monday. You know why? Because we're on agent attraction calls and we got 25 people with us.
It is. And good message this morning. Good mindset message.
Thank you.
Hope everybody saw Eric's tip of the day.
Thank you, brother. We do send those out daily. Let's talk about that for just a moment. There's a reason we send them out to all of you on a daily basis. And here's the reason. You ready? Because if you listen to them, they work. I want you to understand that everybody's out there looking for that secret sauce when most of you are swimming in it. But you're so busy swimming, you're not feeling the water. You're not feeling how simple things can be. I'm known for a phrase: if you're working too hard, you're thinking too much. Most people are thinking too much. Today, I'm going to make agent attraction a simple thing. You won't have to think about it any longer. You'll just move from thinking about it to doing it. Let me stop for a moment. I want to welcome everybody, especially those here for the first time. Anybody that's here for the first time or just a few times, if you want to say hi, pull your microphone open and just say hi.
Hey, everybody.
Good morning, Isa. Welcome. Glad you're here. We know that you're in Manila in the Philippines. Anybody else want to say hi?
Hey.
Hey, Gwen, how are you?
Good, thank you.
And where do you live?
Memphis, Tennessee.
And how long have you been with us?
Since August of last year.
Okay. And have you begun agent attraction at all, or is today like your first beginning?
I am just beginning.
Okay. Well, we are excited that you're here. If I say anything today that potentially offends you, I apologize in advance. If I say something that may be above your pay grade of understanding, I apologize in advance. But I want to catch everybody up, especially people like you, Gwen. I want to catch everybody up on the fastest way for you to get both the mindset and the structure of agent attraction. I did a recording back on January 2nd. It is in our workplace feed. It's also in freedomteamsupport.com underneath agent attraction recordings. And I'm sure Kim or somebody will post it in the chat box so you can find it. But I'm going to highly recommend, if you want to attract agents this year, you go back and dedicate 1 hour sometime in the next 3 days. I'm going to say that again. And by the way, when you come to a class and an instructor recommends something, if you do it, you're generally moving ahead. If you don't do it, you're never going to know what you missed. So Gwen, I want to make sure you know, if you want to catch up to speed as quickly as possible, find the 1 hour training I did on January 2nd. Again, we're going to post it in the chat box. You won't have trouble finding it. And I want to encourage each and every one of you to understand there is a mindset on what you should be thinking in order to make this easier. And there's a structure in what you should be following in order to make it reliable. I'm going to say those two words again: easier and reliable, because they're not interchanged, but they're dancing partners. The more I can simplify it, make it easy for you, the more believable you'll feel, the more you'll do what I suggest, the more reliable the results will be. Because I want you to understand everything in agent attraction, golden nugget number 1, everything in agent attraction is predictable. And that's the first thing I want all of you to know if you're here with me for the first time. We are recording this. You'll be able to watch the recording, so don't worry about taking notes unless you're a note taker. But I want to remind everybody that everything we do, if we do it in agent attraction, is predictable. So predictable means if you call a certain number of people, you'll get a certain number of positive responses, you get a certain number of presentations, you get a certain number of people that want follow-ups, and you get a certain number of people that will join you. The real question is what? Golden nugget number 2, what is your number? There really are 2 numbers to discuss. One of them is how much money you want coming in from agent attraction on average monthly or on yearly basis. What income do you want that'll make a difference? That's one number. The second number, and the number I was referencing before, is how many calls do you need to make in order for the end result to be someone joining your group? And you have a number, and that number is your baseline. And we do teach you to get better from the beginning. Now, here's what's interesting. Most of you, if you're here for the first time, you want to know, well, what is involved in agent attraction? And again, January 2nd, I cover that, but let me tell everybody, so there's no question. There's only 4 things we do. We make a list of agents. We invite them to look at the program. We show them some presentation, and we answer questions. The acronym is LISA, list, invite, show, answer. And so all you got to remember is if you can learn how to make a list, which you can, you learn how to invite, which you can, you learn how to either show it yourself or press play during a Zoom, which we show you how to do that, and then we help you answer questions, you can become an expert at agent attraction. Done, finished, over. Don't question. If you're coming here wondering, could I be any good at attracting agents? The answer is you can if you learn how to make a list, invite, show them a presentation, and answer questions. And if you do it the right way, golden nugget number 3. If you do it the right way, the golden nugget is you don't have to be that good. And the reason you don't have to be that good is golden nugget number 4, our message does the heavy lifting. EXP's presentation does the heavy lifting. Your job is to arrange the move. EXP's presentation is the mover. Think about that. Your job is to find out if somebody would like to do something. And if they say they do want to do something, you can rely on all of the assets we have to do the heavy lifting work. And when I say moving, I don't mean moving to EXP. I mean moving from not knowing anything about EXP to knowing something about EXP. Here's the first main lesson for everyone. Your job is not to sponsor people into EXP. Remember I told you I was going to make it easier? Let me make it really easy. Your job isn't to try to sponsor people into EXP. Your job is not to answer their questions about EXP. Your job is not to show them a presentation about EXP. That's not your job. Your job is to ask them a question that allows them to answer this answer. Yep, I'd like to know why. I want you to understand that's your job. Your job is to get your prospect to say these words. Yes, I'd like to know why. So if I were on Jeopardy, and the answer is, I'd like to know why, then what's the question? The question is something like this. Are you open-minded enough to want to know why 80,000 agents do something? Are you open-minded enough to want to know why 1,000 agents a week are moving to only one company? Are you interested enough, open-minded enough to want to know why one company has broken every real estate record known to man? If they're not open-minded to want to know the answer to that question, they're not a viable prospect. That's like running around trying to list someone's home that's not ready to move out. I want to draw an analogy. We're still in the first 15 minutes and I'm humming. This is good stuff. Okay, here we go. If I'm driving down the street and I'm looking for people and I come upon this house and it's closed, meaning there's no one out front, and I go up and knock on the door and say, do you want to list your house? They're going to say no. However, if I see someone standing on the front lawn and I'm driving down the street and I say, hey man, let me ask you a question. Are you interested in listing your house? They may still say no, but that one was significantly more convenient than me pulling in the driveway, putting it in the park, turning it off, walking up to the front. Here's a better one though. Suppose all of a sudden you see some renovations being done. All of a sudden you see a moving truck. All of a sudden you see a kid loading up a station wagon or a van heading out the driveway. All of these things are indications that the person that you're talking to may be in a moving mindset. Now, understand something. I just drew for you 3 word pictures because I wanted you to understand something. None of those people are your prospects for listing a house. What makes them a prospect for listing a house is them saying, I'm open-minded to want to know what my house is worth. It's not in anything they do that matters. It is their response to a question you ask. And the question is, you ever thought about moving? Never really thought about it. Ever thought about what your house is worth? Yeah, you know what? I'd be curious. Ever thought about, is this the house you plan on living in 3 years from now? Oh, not really. Okay. I need you to understand something, people. Attracting agents is similar to looking for listings, similar to looking for buyers. It's just a question you need to ask. And the question I'm going to teach you to ask in this class, if you come every week, is a series of statements and a question if you're looking at my picture. And it sounds something like this. Hey, Jim. And by the way, if you know them well, it's, hey, Jim, how you doing? Good, awesome, great. Listen, you probably know I made a move to EXP a few months ago. I'm not asking you to change brokerages. But I want you to know 80,000 agents have come to the company over the last 4 years, and they've all come for different reasons. Here's why I'm calling you. I want to make sure that you have seen our 2023 presentation. And more importantly, Jim, I never knew what I didn't know until I saw it. I want you to look at it and let's talk about what could be in it for you. Again, as long as I'm open-minded to the fact that you're not changing brokerages and you're open-minded to the fact that you're just curious to look. I want you to understand, people, what I'm doing. I'm asking them if they're open to look with no commitment. And I'm telling them I'm not expecting them to move. I'm expecting them to want to know why 80,000 agents a week over the last 4 years want to do anything. Why 1,000 agents a week are moving to a company. Would you like to know why they move? And they're going to say things like this. They're going to say, oh, but I like my brokerage. I'm sure you do. I'm glad you do. But you know, out of the 1,000 agents that moved last week, a lot of them liked their brokerage too. A lot of them loved their broker. A lot of them were at 100%. A lot of them got generated leads. A lot of them had this. A lot of them had that. Here's what they don't have. Any knowledge on why 1,000 agents a week have moved to EXP. So what I'm trying to teach you is you're not in a debate on which brokerage is better. You're in a conversation about why 1,000 agents a week are moving to this company, and you're really just calling them to ask them if they are curious to know why. Let me pause there for a moment. If you're new or relatively new, I'd like you to jump on microphone, whether you jump on camera or not, and tell me whether any of this is making sense to you or whether it's not.
Yes, it is.
Why, Gwen, isn't making sense?
It's just a factor I've never even thought about. I've been so busy and just growing my business and being a new agent. I never thought about attracting other agents. So this just makes sense.
And the questions I want you to be asking are not questions about moving brokerages. They're not questions about comparing brokerages. They're questions about, are they open-minded enough to find out why everyone else is moving? Gwen, do you see the difference?
I do, yes.
And now they're not answering whether they want to move or not. They're answering whether they want to see why everybody else has moved. Why do I pose the question that way? 2 reasons. Number one is it hits them differently than everybody else has been hitting them. Here's the second one, and this one's even bigger. Because it feels a little better to me when they say they're not open-minded. They're not picking on my brokerage because they don't know who we are. Oh, no, I don't want to look. I've had a lot of people call me. I'm not interested. Okay, fine. So they're not open-minded to find out why everybody's calling them. I love that. I get that response. By the way, that's the probably the second response you're going to get. The number one response everybody's going to get is not interested. I want you to know if you're getting not interested, you're like everybody else, because I get that more than any other excuse. The second thing I get is, Oh yeah, a lot of people are calling me on EXP. I've got some friends that have gone there. Anybody ever get that? All the time. Here's the answer to that. Awesome. And then ignore what they said. Because it doesn't matter. They still don't know why 1,000 agents a week are moving to EXP. And I'm going to explain to you that by answering the question a specific way, you're likely to find out if they're open-minded. By answering it any other way, you're likely to find out that they're not interested in looking at something they don't even understand. There's a way to handle an objection. We cover that every Monday. And one way we handle it is this, to agree with whatever they say, because we should. Oh, I love my brokerage. I'm glad you love your brokerage. I've already at 100%. I'm glad you're at 100%. I just moved to a new brokerage. That's awesome. I'm glad you just agree with them. That's all they want is validation anyway. And then you come back with, there's a lot of agents that just moved that still made the move to EXP. And here's why, because they were looking for something. So I want to show you why 1,000 agents a week are moving to EXP, because there might be something you're looking for that's here. Let me pause for a moment. Jeff, Tim, anybody that's been here on a regular basis, chime in, add or subtract anything I've said.
It works. I do it a little differently. I don't ask them if they're curious why 1,000 agents are doing anything. I just downplay the opportunity. Say, hey, Eric, Tim Hollenden, how you doing today? You know, move quickly to not trying to recruit you. I'm just curious. Has anybody shown you our 2023 presentation? And more importantly, personalize it for your amount of volume. I don't go down the track of asking if they care about 1,000 agents, because they may not. So a little tweak, but you know, we are different. We're all hugely successful in what we do, but that's my small add.
And I'm highly recommending, if you've got a thick enough skin, come up with anything that you hear from this grouping or any modification of this script. This script, by the way, can be found in the Freedom Team support page. It can also be found in Freedom Team and Workplace as a pinned post. But let me echo something Tim just said. You're not necessarily going to invite people to look at EXP the same way I do. But it will be something in between. Are you open-minded to look why everybody else is? Or have you seen our presentation and would you like to? These are the two things. But I want you to understand, I'm thinking I'm always asking permission. It comes across that way. Hey, would you be open to look? If you haven't seen our 2023 presentation, I'd love to show it to you without any kind of commitment. Just let's get it in front of you so you can see why the agents are moving. I mean, again, in doing 5, 10, 15, 20 calls, you'll begin to get into a rhythm. And again, we'll talk about that in another call, but getting into a rhythm is one thing. Staying in the rhythm is the key. Jeff, did you have something to add?
Yeah, can you hear me okay? I'm on my tab. Yeah, okay. I think it's important to just, the more you can convey to the person you're on the phone with that you're not trying to sell them on EXP, you're not trying to get them to move right now, the more success you'll have setting the appointment. You know, and once they see it, they can't unsee it. You know, I've had people join me 3 years after I showed them EXP and just continued to just drip on them and stay in touch. But I think that's nobody wants to be sold to. So I think, you know, and you're going to get things all the time, you know, oh, you know, I'm really, hey, totally good. I appreciate the call. I'm so happy where I'm at, whatever. Here's what most people do. Okay, great. You know, have a great day. Click. It's like, I go on like in the sense, no. Like, I love that you're happy. That's awesome. You're happy. Like I said, I'm not here to get you to move. I don't expect you to move now or anytime soon. I just want to show you what's going on over here just so you can get the info. That's it. And if it intrigues you, we'll stay in touch, you know, and if it doesn't, at least you know how it works. And now the next time an EXP agent calls you can tell them you've already seen it and just hang up the phone. Like, just be done. But, you know, I just want to give you the info and help you evaluate it, personalize it for yourself. And then if it intrigues you, we'll dive in deeper. We'll stay in touch on it. You never know. 2 years from now, maybe you're not happy where you are. Something happens at your brokerage, or they switch the commission splits, or they start charging more money, or your team leader leaves, and whatever. There's all kinds of things that can happen. I've done this for 21 years. So I just want to share with you the information. That's it. I'm not here to sell you on it at all, and I'll get, okay, well, I guess it doesn't hurt to look. I'll get half the people that I call, that I get the objections all the time. I'm happy. I'm on a great split, I just made the move, all that kind of stuff. But I'll, 5 out of 10, I'll still get them to look at the presentation. And, I had a guy I showed last week. I'm on a second Zoom with him tomorrow, and he had absolutely no intention of moving at all, but he was blown away when I showed him. Had no idea had no clue about the stock, had no clue about the revenue share, had no clue about any of the stuff. And he is like, wow, this is amazing. That's what he said. This is amazing. This is different than I thought. He's been in the business for 20 some years, been at the same brokerage for, 15 years now. Oh, I'm not looking to move. I love where I'm at. I've been here my whole career. Like, okay, great. No, I know. I don't expect you to move. I just want to show you why 1,000 agents, or why 3,900 agents in December moved to EXP. Would you be open just to getting the info? And he looked, and now we're on a second Zoom tomorrow. Will he move now? I have no idea. He might not move for 3 years. He may never move, but I feel like it's a win when I show him. So.
And you said it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it, which goes back to what I said at the very beginning, the first 2 minutes. Let the presentation do the heavy lifting. Just learn how to get in and out of the way. You literally have to lead them to the presentation. Again, numerous places to see a presentation. We're in the middle. By the end of this week, hopefully by Thursday on our Thursday training, we'll have an announcement on where to find all the different presentations you can utilize, if you don't do it live. Everybody knows that Brent Gove has a presentation at the Model Explained. Jeff Morrell has a presentation. Tim Hollenden has a presentation. I've got a presentation. They're all available, and you can download them and use them, whatever the case may be. You can use them through the YouTube sites. But again, we'll get you a message on where to find all of them. And I would recommend you watch all of them and make a decision on which one or two you want to utilize. Some people will match personalities. Let me give you an opinion of that. I think that's an awesome idea, and I don't do it. And the reason I do it is it's too much thinking. I'm going to run with one presentation. Now, will you have better success running with 2 presentations? You will, but you'll have more anxiety. Why will you have more anxiety? Because you'll be wondering, should I send her this one? Should I send her this one? I'm telling you, it doesn't matter which one you send them. If you send them one that you like, it will not play with your head. If you have 2 or 3 or 4 to choose between, it'll play with your head every time. Both of them work. I prefer not to play with my emotions. So I tend to stick to one presentation. Okay? Now, again, I'm not telling you should. I'm just telling you it's easier on my head. Let me pause for a minute. If you're new, relatively new, and you have a question about agent attraction, grab the microphone real quick and ask me your question. Let me say something before I open it up. The more interaction you feel comfortable doing on this call, the more comfortable you'll be when we hang up. If you're afraid to ask a question during this environment, then you're significantly further away from making the calls you want to make. Understand, when everything happens between now and freedom, you're going to look foolish at different times in your life, no matter how prepared you are. I'm telling you, you can't look foolish in this group because I've had questions you can't believe. So if you have a question, I don't care if it's anything, but you're brand new or relatively new to us, ask. Anybody? Question.
Okay, I do feel silly for asking it, but where's this presentation? Because I've got 2 other friends who are agents with different brokerages, and I keep telling them about how amazing EXP is, but I don't have anything physical to show them. So where's this presentation that you're talking about?
There's a number of them. One of them is, Kim, are you going to pop this in the chat box? Okay. First one that everybody uses is Brent Goves. And that can be found at a new message. I don't even use it anymore. What is that one, Jeff? God.
It's the model explained.
Yeah, your model, was it your model explained?
The model explained.
The model explained. The model explained. That's right. TheModelExplained.com. That's number one. Number two, moremoneyforrealtors.com. Password is real estate, all lowercase, one word. More money for realtors, real estate, all lowercase. That's done by Jeff Morrell. The next one is Tim Hollanden's version. Tim, where do you find yours?
I don't have it posted anywhere right now, but I'll get that done. I'll put it on my YouTube channel.
Perfect. And then I have one on my YouTube channel. They're all good. They all have different benefits and drawbacks. Mine's shorter than everybody else's, but because it's shorter, it's not as completely thorough as the others, but they all do their job. So those are the 4 places. Gwen, does that help you? Gwen, say yes. Yes. Good deal. Until you can say yes, I'll assume it's
I
a
was
yes.
sneezing. I'm so sorry.
Oh, God bless you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And while we're interrupted, let's all interrupt ourselves and wish Tara Hollenden a happy birthday. Tara! Happy birthday, Miss Tara. Okay, good. Can only turn 27. Only turn 27 one time. Enjoy it.
That's right.
Ruben, you had a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess my hesitation is my lack of experience as a realtor. What would be a rebuttal? You know, I was looking at Jeff's, I saw it again yesterday, I was going over it. And a lot of it's like, you know, I'm a realtor 20 years and you can kind of have that rapport with that other person in the line because you just had so much experience and you had so much success. I'm a new realtor. I have no success as of right now, you know, type of thing. What would the rebuttal be for that? Like, you know, as far as a mindset?
Let's start with this. You mentioned Jeff. Are you part of Jeff's group or are you just in another group?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to highly recommend anybody that's really wanting to move into agent attraction, find out which leader from the Freedom Team is your leader. We'll all help you. Don't hesitate. But it's always a good idea to start with the person that you're most connected to. So you're either, in your case, Jeff Morrell, Tim Hollanden, Stephanie Gillison, Kathy Carter, or Sean Sturrock, and myself. So find that person. Ruben, here's the next step. The next step is you're and I are going to role play real quick. I want you to just be who you are. I'm going to be a brand new agent. Okay. Hey, Ruben, Eric Golden, how you doing today?
Doing good. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for asking. Listen, won't take long. I'm an EXP agent out of Orlando, and here's the reason I'm calling. I know that you're in Colorado Springs, and you probably know EXP is exploding everywhere. Ruben, I'm not asking you to change brokerages. What I am saying is your volume's ideal for one of our programs. We've had about 80,000 agents move to our company in the last 4 years. And there's a reason why they're moving, why 1,000 agents a week are coming here. You probably have heard about us, but you may not know exactly why. I'd like to show you why agents move. So I'm calling to find out, have you actually seen our 2023 presentation? And more importantly, Ruben, has anybody explained what's in it for Ruben? Has anybody done that for you yet?
No, not yet.
I'm working with a guy named Jeff Morrell, and you may or may not know that name, but he's been a big deal in the local marketplace for a long time. He just created a presentation that I'd like you to watch. I'd like to watch it with you, actually, and then we'll pull Jeff on at the end if we can do that. But it'll explain why 1,000 agents a week are moving to the company. Again, there won't be any pressure. When could we jump on a Zoom together? Because I want to make sure we can pull Jeff in as well. Would you be available potentially this afternoon, or would you rather do it tomorrow or Wednesday? Again, no pressure. At no point, Ruben, did you wonder about my volume?
Yeah.
Okay. I will say this. I've been doing this now 4.5 years at EXP, and not a single time has someone said to me, well, wait a second. How much do you sell? Because it's not designed for them. I'm calling you to find out if you're open-minded to look at why agents are coming. I'm coming to find out if anybody's shown you our 2023 presentation, and more importantly, shown you what's in it for Ruben.
Yep.
Okay, so if you use those words, you're less likely to get someone interrogating you.
Okay.
And I will tell you that Sean Sturrock, who's my sponsor, also Jeff's sponsor, also Jay Nelson's sponsor, okay? Sean had sold 0 houses when he called the 3 of us. And we were all smart enough not to look at Sean. And you're going to find out if they're smart enough not to look at Ruben.
Yep.
Now, what you could also do is pick up the phone, call somebody up if you don't know them, and say, hey, you may or may not have heard of Jeff Morrell. He's sort of a big deal here in Colorado Springs. Yep. He asked me to give you a call. Right? He just created a 2023 presentation he'd like you to look at, and then he'd like to jump on the phone and maybe answer some questions for you. Or better yet, we could possibly have him do a live presentation for you. Again, you work that out with Jeff. But I want you to hear, Ruben, it has nothing to do with Ruben.
Yeah.
You believe that now, don't you?
Yeah. And I kind of made a rebuttal, you know, when I thought about that. I was like, okay, so if that ever happened, or, you know, maybe just arguing with myself just to make myself, you know, more calm or whatever. I made a rebuttal. I didn't point at Jeff. I went back to the EXP model. You know, 80,000 agents, 1,000 agents a week, you know, 450, you know, independent brokers have come over and more, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
Just look at
There's a reason why they're all coming over. I just want to get you in front of the information. What you do with it from there is up to you. If you like it, we'll talk further. If not, we're still friends.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the number of times I say something like that. Jeff, go ahead.
Yeah, Ruben, and exactly what he said. Like they're not going to. You're in your head in terms of I've only been in business this long, but they're not concerned about that. They're not asking that. They're not. None of that. All I'm doing when you listen to those phone calls, that's what you're talking about. You listen to the phone calls that I put up there. Yeah. So I mean, at the beginning of my calls, I mean, and a little bit different than I think than what Eric is doing in that sense. Like I do have a little bit of a conversation up front. You know, and that conversation, it's all I'm trying to do is just, you know, kind of, I'm getting a feel for how they are.
Yeah.
Here's what, you know, and 1 out of every 20 calls, you know, I'll call somebody, you know, hello, this is Joe. Hey, Joe, Jeff Morrell here, realtor here in town. How you doing? Yeah. What do you want? You know, I mean, if I get that right, if that's the response, I'm just quick and to the point. I'm just probably going to hang up because I can tell right now they're either in a rush that day or they're just not, whatever, you know, but it's 1 in 20. Everybody else is like, you know, oh, hey, I'm doing good. How are you doing? You know, oh, I'm doing good. You know, man, getting ready for that storm on Wednesday. I'm so sick of this cold and the snow. Whenever we laugh and whatever. And then I go into it. It's just, I mean, it's a little bit of banter up front is what I do. But sometimes it does lead to where, you know, like we'll start talking about the business. How's your business going? You know, how long you been in the business? So I've been doing this 21 years, whatever. We'll go back and forth. But again, this is just me having that conversation. Don't feel like you have, well, I just got my license last week. Like you don't have to go there.
No, I'm not going to bring that up.
Yeah, but you know, it won't even come up in the conversation. Just kind of guide the conversation. I'm just getting a feel for their tone of voice and whatever, like, you know, are we going to have a good conversation? And 9 out of 10 times we do, you know, and so I never get that pushback of like, you know, like EXP, you know, get the hell out of here. I mean, I never get that.
Yeah.
You know, I think everybody's concerned about getting that. It's like, they're not going to do that. Just most people, they're fine. Just have a little conversation. If they're open, great. And if they're just won't look, you heard me on some of those calls. I mean, the one of them was like 15, 20 minutes, but at the end of it all, I mean, they looked.
Yeah.
We set the appointment. I mean, so it's just, I don't know, it varies a little bit, but that's all that is up front. You don't have to get into the fact that, you know, whatever, that you haven't been doing this that long. They don't care.
No.
So
the method that Jeff talks about of just warming them up beforehand, let me give you some guidance on everybody that. Number 1, it works if you don't warm them up. It works better if you do warm them up. But if you have trouble warming them up, then don't warm them up. Because it works if you don't warm them up. It works better if you do warm them up. But if you don't feel comfortable warming them up, then don't warm them up, because it still works if you don't warm them up. I've said it twice because I believe it. It works. Now, with that said, let me also say this. I want you to understand you should learn how to warm people up anyway. You're a realtor.
Yep.
Okay. Maybe we should run a class on how to warm people up. Oh, we are doing that. When are we doing that? 2 weeks from today. 2 weeks from today, we're going to talk about all the different places you can find realtors. Tim Hollenden is going to talk about the 7 different areas, buckets that you have realtor relationships. 7 of them. Past clients, this, that, this, that. So I want you to understand part of what he'll go through in 2 weeks on Monday on the 20th is specifically the first thing you might want to say to them, given the fact that they come out of that bucket. So Ruben, don't miss that class on the 20th. Now, with that said, I wouldn't recommend anyone miss the class next Monday. Why? Because I'm going to cover something spectacular. Why is it going to be spectacular? Because I'm covering it. Ta-da! I want you to understand, every week you come expecting good stuff. It's just like my message, the tip of the day today. If you expect good things to happen, good things will happen. Okay? So Gwen had a chance. By the way, I am going to cover our topic in about 4 minutes. I'm going to head to our topic, which is how to offset your cap, and I'll cover that in the last 15 minutes. Let me pause again and say this. You don't need to learn how, you don't need to warm people up in order to be successful, but you should learn how to warm people up in order to be more successful. And unlike Jeff, even when I warm them up, I still get attitude sometimes. So I want you to know, some of you may get attitude sometimes, even if you warm them up. And when you get attitude, realize 2 things. You're supposed to get attitude from some people because the numbers prove that out. You're going to call idiots at some point. And if they're not idiots, they're idiots at the moment you called them because you caught them at the wrong minute. The second thing I want to remind you is the phone can hang up from both sides. I'm not kidding. Ruben, you're a new agent. If they ask you a question and all of a sudden you realize, I don't know what to say, let me show you what to do. Look at my screen. Ready? Click. Wait a second, regroup, call them back and say, oh, we got disconnected, which is true. You did the disconnecting. Everybody that's laughing at me right now, I want you to understand something. Laugh all you want. If you don't hang up on somebody this week, you won't understand the power you have in being able to do it. I'm telling you.
Because how awesome it is.
It is. You can hang up on anything, anytime. So I have a guy one time that he said, they asked me, how long have I been in real estate? And I didn't want to answer and I didn't know what to say. So I just hung up. And they called me and said, what do I say? And I answered them. Then he called the guy back and he gave him the answer. I want you to know that if you're calling people, especially if you don't know them, they don't know you either. Remember that. Okay? There are 17,254 agents in Orlando, Tampa. I'm going to repeat that again. 17,254 agents that are in Orlando/Tampa in Florida who all do $2.5 million or more in real estate. And so, Ruben, if you're worried about the one that you have on the phone, there's 17,254 people that are waiting for you to call them. Okay?
Eric, this is Judy. Ruben, this is to Ruben. I've shared with agents before, if they get that question, to just tell the person, especially when they're talking to potential clients, I've been in it for a while, because for a while is relative. For a while, it might be one day for one person, it might be 10 years for another. And most of the time, people do not come back and say, well, what does that mean? How many years or how many weeks or how many months have you been in? You just say, oh, I've been in real estate for a while. And they usually take that.
And again, thank you, Judy. Great answer. I want you to understand, please understand this from the bottom of my heart, and I mean this as lovingly as I can. I don't care what they ask. I only care if they're open-minded.
Yep.
If they ask a question and I don't answer it satisfactorily to their happiness, and they judge that and become closed-minded, they're not open-minded. One of the ways to get away from that is to say this: hey, this is Weta from EXP. I've got a really special role here. I'm calling agents whom. You can say that. Hey, I'm new to the industry, but I've got a special role here. I'm calling agents who are perfectly suited for one of our programs. Your volume is ideal for one of our programs. Oh,
Yeah.
really? What program is that? Look, what I want you to do is, it's a two-step process. Look at the basic information, and then we'll dive specifically into the program that's best for you.
Yeah.
Okay?
You know,
Now,
one
with
of,
that said, go ahead.
I was going to say, one of the things I thought about when I was thinking about this is I come out of the healthcare profession. You know, I was occupational therapist, and the company, one of the companies I work for, we have full-time recruiters who are not healthcare professionals. And I'm like, if these people can recruit healthcare professionals, but they're not healthcare professionals, I can recruit realtors, and I'm a realtor, you know? So it's one of the things I was thinking about too. If they could do it, I could totally do it.
Well, I love the way you're thinking. If they can do it, you can totally do it. Let me remind you again, my sponsor has sponsored a number of people, but 3 of them are represented on this call today. He had sold 0 properties before he called the 3 of us. And we represent almost 3,000 agents. So he was more interested in blessing agents who were open-minded than what they thought of him. Would I love for you to have Jeff's background? Sure, I would. But you don't.
Yep.
So you can sit there and think about wanting Jeff's background, or you can go do what Jeff would rather you do. Let's go build a huge group, and you never have to sell all the houses Jeff sold. Right? So let me show everybody what the goal is in mind. I want to remind everybody how simple this is. I want you to understand $36,000 a year can be yours by the end of this year, as simply as, I'm going to remind everybody, when you sponsor a capping agent, you make $2,800 per year every time they cap. The best way to know that they're a capping agent, by the way, is if they're selling real estate before you call them. So Ruben, call agents that aren't named Ruben that are brand new. Why? Because you want them to have at least volume enough to pay you. That's why you're calling them. If you happen to bring in 6 capping agents over the next year, then you're now going to make $16,800, which is $800 more than your cap. I'm going to remind everybody of something that you may not remember. There's
We're not
3 ways
seeing
to
your-
offset.
We're
What
not
did I
seeing
do?
your map screen.
I don't know why. Okay,
I could see it.
I could see it too.
Yay. Okay, let me go, but everybody can see us now, right? We're back? Yeah. I want to remind everybody of something. 3 ways to offset your cap that I know of. Here's one. One way is to sell a boatload of real estate and become an icon and get your $16,000 back. For most of us, that's 26 transactions or more. When? Here's a second way. If someone moves to EXP and they sell 1 or 2 more houses because of something at EXP, that's another way to offset their cap. Everybody agree? So as I'm talking to people and they go, well, I'm not sure I want, the answer is, if you made the move with all that we have to offer, do you think you'd sell at least 1 more house? Yeah. You just offset your cap. But here's the way we control it. The way we control it is to offset it through agent attraction. So again, I'm reminding you, here's the screen, $16,800 for bringing 6 agents here. And every agent, if you do this right, while they're coming over, they will bring over their best friend. You're now making $36,000 a year because you brought 6 capping agents who each brought 1. Now, Ruben, you're brand new. Gwen, you're brand new to what we're doing here. I want you to realize that there is an average for agents who are recruiting, because we all know 80%, 87% of the agents don't recruit. But of the 13% that do, the 12 or 13%, there is an average. We average 1.5 agents per month. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to average 1 agent every 2 months rather than 1.5 a month. Because if you average 1 agent every 2 months, at the end of a year, you'd have 6. And if they brought their best friend, you'd have 6 who got 1. You're now making 36 grand. And you know what you do next year? You help all of your 6, because they already understand they're making a little money. You help those 6 replace their cap the same way that you replace yours. And now you're making $132,000 a year. I want to remind you, 6 who gets 6, 6 who gets 6 is 36,000. Meaning 6 who get 1. I'm sorry, it's 36,000. And more importantly, 6 for you offsets your cap. So what we're talking about today is, how do I offset my cap? Go find 6 capping agents. How do I make 36 grand? Whether they want to recruit or not, have them bring their best friend who's also capping. And then at that point, find out if they're interested in offsetting their cap, and then go help them bring 5 more. This is a 1-year, 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year project. Doesn't matter to me whether it takes you 5 years to build $132,000 a year leverage income. Imagine that. 36,000 a year is like having 700,000 in the bank. 132 is like having millions in the bank. And how do you do it? You make a list, you invite them, you show them, and you answer questions. Most of the time, the agents will be friendly. Some of the time, they'll be nasty. Most of the time, they'll tell you they're interested or they're not. Some of the time, they'll ghost you. Doesn't that sound like normal? When you're talking to anyone, some of them are rude and some of them don't respond. This is a normal function. Just because it's called agent attraction, you think it's different. It's not. Let me give you some universal truths. Golden nugget number next. Do you know why they don't call you back? They don't want to. It isn't that you've done something wrong, and it isn't that they're not interested. It might be because you've done something wrong, and it might be because they're not interested. But here's what I know. They don't want to call you back. So what do you do when they don't call you back? Well, that's the dilemma. Here's what I would recommend you do. You follow up. You follow up without any mental gray matter going into it other than what should I do next? Should I text or should I call? Or should I put them in an automation in CRM Grow? We have a CRM for agent attraction that's outside of KV Core. It's called CRM Grow. If you don't know what it's all about, come on Thursday, we'll talk about it. But I want everybody to know this. Once somebody ghosts you, they no longer rent the same space in my head as they did before they ghosted me. Because once they ghost me, I'm no longer in control over anything other than how I think about it and how I respond. So here's how I think about it. I don't. Here's how I respond. A day later, I send them another message. 2 days later, I might send them a video text, and I keep sending them the presentation if they told me they would look at it every few days. If after a few days or a week, they still have not connected back with me, I put them in an automation and I let them handle it for 90 days. Because here's why. I didn't ghost Sean, my sponsor. And Jeff didn't ghost Sean, his sponsor. And Jay didn't ghost Sean, his sponsor. And most of the people that get involved with you won't ghost you. Now, will some of them? Yes. Can you predict who will and who won't? No. And since you can't predict, why think about it? Just call the next person. One last thing, then we'll open it up for questions and comments. I'm going to recommend Ruben and Gwen. You start following a 5-call per day recipe. Just make 5 outbound calls a day. Knock it out first thing in the morning and ignore agent attraction the rest of the day. Tomorrow, wake up, make 5 calls, ignore it for the rest of the day. Get into a routine of making 5 outbound calls a day. Because if you did that every day, Ruben, within the first week or two, would you get better at making calls? Yes or no?
Yes.
Would you have more questions for me every Monday or Thursday? Yes or no?
Probably yes.
Here's what you don't realize. And if you're driving, don't swerve. And if you're sitting, don't fall off your chair. If you make 5 calls a day, this week it's 25 calls. At the end of the month, it's roughly 110, 120 calls. At the end of the year, it's 1,200 to 1,300 calls. Now, here's a question. If you made 12 to 1,300 calls, what are the odds are that you end up with 6 people who said, yeah, I'm interested. Yes, I'm looking. 6 out of 1,300 is a pretty good number. Would you agree, Ruben?
Yes. Yes.
The problem is we don't put those odds in our favor. So what we do is we get out of the blocks, just like we're running a marathon, and we run a mile and 2 miles, and we can't get out of bed tomorrow. Don't do that. First day you go to the gym, familiarize yourself with the equipment. Don't do a workout. The second day you go to the gym, familiarize yourself with the equipment. Don't do a workout. By the third day, you already know where you're sore. You already know where you're not. Start putting pressure in areas you're not, and start doing just general amounts for where you're sore. It's the same thing here. The reason I only want you to make 5 calls is I don't want you to pull a hamstring. I don't want you to blow a bicep. And what I really don't want you to do is to affect your brain. I want you to think about this. You're going to make 1,300 calls this year. Who cares what happened on Tuesday? The only thing you need to care about is, did you make your 5 calls? I'm going to leave everybody with this thought, then I'll open up for any kind of questions. I was in the program for about a year when Brent Gove asked me to come on stage and tell people my philosophy in agent attraction. So I'm going to give everybody what I told them 3.5 years ago, or 4 years ago. I said, the first 30 days at EXP, all I wanted to do was set up my routine. I learned along the way, but that was not my goal. My goal the first 30 days was to learn along the way. My goal the second 30 days was to learn everything I could learn, but I didn't want to confuse learning with setting up a new habit. So I was willing to go 0 for the first month just so I could establish my habit, because I know by the time I got to day 31, the habit was no longer a problem. Now I could work on getting better. That is what most of you are missing. You're worried about how good you look on Tuesday when you shouldn't. Just make sure you make your calls on Tuesday. I promise you, by next Tuesday, you'll be better. But the routine and the habit is singly the most important thing you can do, because only with the routine and the habit will you continue to get and learn improvement. Before we go to all questions, I'm going to leave everybody with this. Starting in the month of March, we're going to have a group that wants to go the 6 Who Get 6 route, and there will be a special call for them or for us. So this is the month where you set your routine so you can be part of the 6 Who Get 6 grouping starting in March. Kate, what's your question?
The question is, after I have left my voice message, 5 minutes, call me back message, how soon after that do I follow up with them?
I immediately, if I leave them a voicemail, I text them, hey, just left you a voicemail, call me today when you have 5 minutes. If I don't hear from them and I know them, I will call them or text them the next day. Hey man, is everything okay? Just touched base with you yesterday. Didn't get back to me. I know you're probably busy, but shoot me a call today when you have 5 minutes. If I don't know them, I don't worry about doing a follow-up call. Did that answer your question? Did you leave?
Oh, no, yes, it did. Thank you.
You're welcome. Was that sad? Do you feel good about that answer?
I do. There's some people lingering out there then that I need to reconnect with.
Okay, no problem. Thanks for asking. Jackie, go ahead.
Where do you recommend we get the, where do you recommend we find these people to call on? Should we scrub our MLS for volume?
First thing you want to do is don't miss the class in 2 weeks on the 20th.
Okay.
But I'm going to say this, Jackie, how long have you been an agent?
I've been licensed almost 20 years.
I'd recommend you, in reverse order, starting today, go back over every deal you've done. Just pull out the agent's name and number, agent's name and number, agent's number. That start there. That will be your single most reliable database. And if you've been around 20 years, and do that list until you have 100 names on it. And because I'm setting your parameter, I want you to set a goal to have 100 names on a list in an hour.
Thank you.
People like gaming. They like gamesmanship. So play games. I'm going to put a list together in 100 names as quickly as I can. Okay, Jackie, is my answer satisfactory for you? Are you okay with that?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. Run with it. Jay, you had a question.
I just have a comment. First off, thank you so much. I've been trying to come as much as I possibly can. It's awesome, Eric and Jeff,
Thank you.
yourself. I put in the thing. I've been a sales trainer a long time. I'm new in this particular field, but I'm hearing so many of the same things. I just want to say this off to everybody. What Jared's telling you is exactly correct. See, other people, they're only thinking about themselves. So the quicker we get them on their favorite subject, which is themselves, they don't ask you any questions. So it's just awesome stuff, Eric. And Kate, I'll say one thing. For years ago, I started, please give me a call when you have, I left a voicemail, please give me a call when you have a moment. You wouldn't believe the funny calls I get back from people going, hey, I have a moment. So instead of 5 minutes, I think other salespeople say 5 minutes. They say when you have a moment, you're going to get humorous callbacks. But thank you guys so much. I'm on, and I can't wait for this 6 to get 6 through.
Yep, it's gonna be awesome. Anybody else? Question for me, Jeff? It looks like you got something to say. If you don't, you always look like you have something to say. Anybody have another question for me? Mark, it's nice to have someone in your background. Always a pleasure. Isa, go ahead.
Hey there, Eric. Well, I don't have a question in mind, to be honest, but I'd just like to share my experience. And I'm not even into real estate myself, but it feels like I'm relating to what you're saying. But the difference is I'm not calling realtors, I'm not calling agents. I'm calling leads, I'm calling homeowners, people who potentially wanted to sell their house. And based on my experience doing cold calling, circle prospecting over the phone, I get a lot of rejections, and man, I'm used to it. Believe me, I won't even call it rejection anymore because I didn't even get the chance to finish my intro script, my opening script, because they just hang up right away. So, well, for me personally, the significance of getting these I'm not interested is I get the chance to like kind of change how I deliver the script, maybe reflect on myself sometimes from there on, and then question, what did I do wrong? Did I say something wrong to the lead that could have offended them? And I'm like, so from there on, I get 5, from 0, I get 5, 10 potential leads per day that's wanting to make a move, purchase a house, or interested in selling their house. And as time goes by, you get more driven as to how to divert and handle these people's objections. So, yeah.
Well, first of all, you brought up a good point. And by the way, you can put your hand down now that you've got your hand up. Thank you for
okay.
that. I want to remind everybody, thank you, Isa. I want to remind everybody, the last thing, we talked about this last week, I didn't talk about this week. Record yourself making calls. And if you don't know how to do that because you're on your own phone, this is how you do it. You go onto Amazon and you order some recording device. They're about $12.99. They're little handheld little things. And you put it next to you and you record your side. And then you compare it against this script, and you will find out without a question that you think you're doing this and you're not. There are pieces of this script that you are not delivering, and there's rhythms you're not delivering well. So I'm going to highly recommend you record yourself. And with that said, anybody else have a final question for me? If not, don't forget, tomorrow is More Transaction Tuesday, and it's a roundtable mastermind, free for all different ideas from all over the country. Always an awesome thing to get you and your agents on. Don't forget, on Wednesday, the 18th, I'm going to be interviewing one of our vice presidents of growth, Sean Murphy, former Navy SEAL. Always interesting to interview him. And lastly, don't forget our series starting in March for short sales. It'll start on March 1st, I believe. 8th, it'll be on the Wednesdays of March. Stephanie Gillison is going to talk about short sales in a way no one's ever heard of. So don't forget all those things. I'm honored that you're here every week. Please don't forget to come back and bring some more. Have a great week, everybody.
Thanks a lot, Eric. Have a great week.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.